Hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another TV episode review. Guys, yes, as I reviewed the first episode of this season premiere last week, I'm going to try to keep reviewing these episodes of this season of, as you all know, True Detective. I reviewed last week's, so I'm reviewing this week's. There's only 8 episodes, so I want to try to keep doing this. I know I don't really review TV shows during the summer. I mostly do it during the fall. This is something I would like to continue doing over the summer, that is. But anyway, with that said, guys, yes, I just finished watching the newest episode of True Detective. We're on Sunday nights. My Sunday nights are extremely busy because I have 3 shows that I'm in the middle of watching, or that I'd like to, start watching, or that I've been watching. One of them is True Detective. The other one is *Halt and Catch Fire* on AMC, which I really love watching. And then the other one is one I haven't even watched yet. It just premiered tonight. *Humans*, another AMC show. I'd like to, check out, watch the premiere pilot episode. I got a lot of shows to catch up, and tonight I got backtracked, and the reason why this review is going up so late, sorry about that. I would have gotten it up at least an hour or so ago, but I got in late. I missed True Detective when it aired at 9, so I had to catch the 11:30 showing of it. Sorry about that. With that said, though, I did watch all of episode 2. Now I'm here to give you my thoughts on it. This episode is called Night Finds You. Pretty interesting title. And, again, I did mention this in last week's review, but spoiler heavy, guys. I'm going to go all out, spoil the whole episode, including that very shocking final sequence in the episode. Also, just a quick little reminder, just want to keep you guys aware of this. Next Sunday, I don't know if I'm going to get a review up for episode 3 because I'm in the process of going away on vacation for a week. I always do in July, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get an episode up that next Sunday. I'm going to try, but I'm leaving that Monday, so it's going to be tough. And definitely the Sunday after that for episode 4's debut, I'm not going to get, because I'm going to be away. So, but I will try my best. Nevertheless, I'm going to review every episode. I'm going to try to, at least, leading up to the finale. Anyway, with that said, just wanted to make that known. Let's get into episode 2. Now, if you guys watched my review of episode 1, you'll know that I was slightly let down with it. I felt that a lot of things could have improved. I think my main thing with the episode was that there was just way too much going on, just an overabundance of characters that honestly most of them didn't, I would say at least 2 characters in last week's episode, I just wasn't sure of their place. I'm like, alright, I can see why they're here, but do we really need them? And I was really hoping that tonight's episode, this week's episode, would kind of, would justify their presence, because I want to see every single one of these 4 characters getting involved, whether it's from Detective Velcoro, Colin Farrell, Ani Bezziredes, I don't know if I'm saying their name right, Rachel McAdams, Paul Woodrough, Taylor Kitsch, or Frank Seymon, Vince Vaughn. And I really want to see every single one of these characters get an appropriate amount of screen time, and I want to see each of these characters, I want them to have a certain amount of depth, and I want us to actually care about each one of these. And I think there's a way to, appropriately distribute how much screen time each character gets, and how much, how important their presence is to the story. I feel that in order to have, a compelling story, we need these characters to have an important presence. And that was my main problem with last week's episode. I was just like, do we really need Taylor Kitsch here? Or do we even need the mobster character that Vince Vaughn is playing? Do we need that? We've seen that before. And I was really skeptical about those things going into tonight's episode. And I will say this much after watching tonight's episode. I think it's a step above last week's episode, mainly because last week's episode was really just the setup episode. Like, we're setting up all these relationships, all of these characters. We're given a touch of backstory on 2 of them, namely Colin Farrell's character and Rachel McAdams' character. But Taylor Kitsch and Vince Vaughn, I was just like, I don't know what their purpose here is yet. And I was really worried about that going into tonight's episode. But I can say this much. Tonight's episode definitely reaffirmed my fears of Vince Vaughn's character, because I feel he started to really shine in tonight's episode. And Taylor Kitsch, I think he's doing a good job in the role. I'm still waiting for him to just really pick up and him to just really have a purpose here. Because as scene goes on, I'm still asking myself, do we really need this character? But I'm going to get into the entire episode, of course, with spoilers. I'm going to review it the way I reviewed it last week. I'm just going to break it down by the characters, discussing each moment they had in tonight's episode, or each anything important. Sorry about that. Anything important that they had to do with tonight's episode, I'm just gonna discuss them, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I think I'm gonna start off tonight with Vince Vaughn, because he impressed me. His what they had his character do in this episode impressed me. From the beginning opening scene where he's laying in bed with his wife that night, and he's telling the story when he was in the basement, locked in there as a kid. I enjoy that. Now I get that you could say that the writers are just trying to throw some sort of like a backstory in there for him, some story of some traumatic thing that happened to him as a child, and it then encouraged him to become the hardened type of mobster that he is nowadays. But I actually bought into that story. I thought it was really interesting. It was disgusting for one point. It was actually making me like what's the word? It was making me cringe, basically, to just hear him talking about how a rat was gnawing on his fingers. That's kind of messed up. And I love the line he says at the end of his, or close to the end of his whole story, as he's telling his wife about this. The only fishy thing I found about that was, didn't his wife already know about this? Why is she just finding out about this now? But anyway, I'll move past that fact. But I feel that I love the line, "What if I died down there?" I loved that. Because yes, that story is basically to show that he had that rough moment in his childhood. Maybe that experience toughened him up as a kid. Maybe it made him think differently about the world and how he has to look out for himself, pretty much. And I just liked that moment. I thought it worked for me. I found it fascinating. Now, last week, other than the fact that Vince Vaughn's character knew the victim, Ben Caspere, whose body they found at the end of last week's episode, and we finally get to, we're starting, the detectives are starting to work together on this case now. But I was wondering, other than the fact that they were business partners and they were working on some project of rail lines or something, I was like, how is Vince Vaughn going to tie into this story? And it turns out we find out a lot more about this, and I think this was Vince Vaughn's episode to really shine tonight. And I think he had some really strong moments. There's one moment that didn't work for me where he's interrogating some guy, which I thought just didn't feel that, it didn't sit well with me. It was just, it didn't feel that exciting, or that, he didn't feel that threatening in that one scene. But there's other scenes where you can tell that he's very desperate at this point to find out where his money is, and that's the main problem, because when he was in this business relationship with this Ben Caspere, he invested a lot of money into their business, I guess that whole railway project, whatever the hell that thing was, and he invested all of his capital, all of his assets. He literally put that into this partnership that he had going, not partnership, this business relationship he had going on with Ben Caspere. And we find out that Ben Caspere was spending some of Vince Vaughn's money, here and there. We later find out what sort of problem he has. He had a severe problem with prostitutes and young women. Always, getting call girls over to his houses, spending, a lot of money on them, I guess, having sex with them, blah, blah, blah. And obviously we can, put two and two together and realize he was using some of Vince Vaughn's money down in that way. And so Vince Vaughn's desperate now. He put, everything into this. And I feel that the stakes are high for him, and I bought into that. So he's going around starting to do his own little detective work on the side, while Colin Farrell's character, who they have that close relationship because of their past, Colin Farrell and Rachel McAdams and Taylor Kitsch are starting to investigate this whole thing. But Vince Vaughn finds some interesting information out. He interrogates this one guy that I think is working at some shady nightclub, strip club that he was involved with once before, and interrogates this one girl and gets an address of a house that he once had and brought girls home with him, this Ben Caspere guy. So he gives this information and passes it on to Colin Farrell's character in the episode. So I think he had a strong place. I like how he's going around doing his own detective work here or there, and I like how he has gangsters or his own men that he can control and say, I want you to go do this, I want you to start digging into this, looking into this, blah, blah, blah. I like that, but I don't feel it's as threatening enough. And I think that's the only thing that's just not working for me so far with Vince Vaughn's character. I really just want to see the threatening side of him, and I think that's going to break out as he gets more and more desperate to track down who killed this guy, because that person obviously has his money. And we find out early on in the episode that Ben Caspere was being tortured. Someone poured acid in his eyeballs, and someone they blew off the man's privates. Okay, so oh god, they actually showed it. They showed it, guys, and I was like, damn, True Detective, you scarred me with season 1 with half of the crap that I had to watch that season, and now we're gonna see a guy's gaping hole in his private area. So interesting, but I'm buying into Vince Vaughn. I feel I was skeptical of him last week. I feel there's a lot more of an important presence in the show, and I like where they're going with the relationship between him and Colin Farrell. And Colin Farrell's like, I might want to get out of this. I don't know if I want to be involved with this anymore. And Vince Vaughn's like, what the hell are you talking about, man? You're not done. Okay, you're not walking away from this. And that was such a great moment in the bar. I don't like how they keep going back and forth and back and forth. Like, that was what we saw in the end of the first episode. The two of them meeting at that bar. We see that again in this episode. Feeling a little bit repetitive here. Repetitive beats. And I think that they could have avoided that. But anyway, it's interesting to see that. I guess that's just their meeting spot where they exchange information. And in this case, Vince Vaughn exchanged the information about Ben Caspere's other house, unknown, apparently. Now, next I want to get into Taylor Kitsch, because I think he has the least of a place in tonight's episode. I don't know what's going on with Taylor Kitsch. I think he's doing a good job. I think he's being the best Taylor Kitsch he can be. Now, I've never been a huge fan of the guy, but when I saw the trailers and I saw like the shady situations he looked like he was getting himself into, I was like, okay, I'm down for this. I really want to see where they're going to go with this character. But now I don't know, because obviously something bad, negative happened to him in his past. Something with this, I wrote it down, the Black Mountain Security. It's been mentioned in the first episode. It's mentioned again here. It's the second time I've heard of it. As soon as I heard his girlfriend say it out loud, I wrote it down, because I'm like, something's going on with this Black Mountain Security. He was involved with that or something in the past. Now, we know he's a war veteran, so obviously something of that nature affected him, but I think it's something deeper that affected him, maybe even as a child, because early on in tonight's episode, he goes to visit his mother in this like trailer park home that she's living in, and she tells him, you could sleep the night, you can have your old room back, because he has to start working around LA. As we all know, he was put on leave last week's episode because of that girl that made the allegations that she gave him a blowjob, and so now he's working this case, this Ben Caspere case, along with Rachel McAdams and Colin Farrell. And it was interesting to see that shot of him sitting on his bed, and the camera slowly pushing in on him, and he's just looking off. So you could tell that something negative must have happened to him as a child, or something. There's something messed up, something that is messed up that is happening to him, and I just don't know quite well where they're going with it yet. And I just feel that I can't really latch on to him, or I can't say, oh, I really want to see what he's going to do next, what's his problem. I think this should be established very early on. Now, I get they want to build up the suspense and make us say to ourselves, what are his demons? What are Taylor Kitsch's demons? What is going on with him? Why is he acting this way? Why is he just so stoic and just so hardened? What happened to him in his past? What happened in this Black Mountain thing? And apparently he has some, not hatred, but he may be a, oh damn, what's the word? He's homophobic, I think, because early on in this episode he's talking to this one detective guy, and he says how this one gay man tried to approach him, and he almost knocked the guy out. And then later on in the episode, he's just sitting in what looks like a parking garage. He's smoking, he's drinking some alcohol, and he looks and he sees two gay guys going into this building, getting out of a car or something. He sees one homosexual guy getting out of a car. It looked like he was counting up money. I wasn't sure, and he just looks like really like not like pissed off, but he just looks upset about something involving that. And I really want to know where they're going with that. I mean, maybe he had negative experiences with this Black Mountain group thing. Maybe, things involving the war. I don't know. I really don't know. But I don't see what his place is right now. Yes, he found the body in last episode, and now he is the State Department needs him. Because basically it's a war, not a war, but the different departments are fighting over this one. Not fighting over this one case, but they're sending in Rachel McAdams to take a look over Colin Farrell, who, people are like, oh, he's had a, shady past. We don't know if we can really trust him to look over this whole case. So she's state CID. She's going to, work with him on this case. And then Taylor Kitsch's character is like the public investigator who's looking into this case, going around getting like credit card information, asset information about Ben Caspere and all that, and that's Taylor Kitsch's place in all of this. So that's how they're all connected, and you could tell that at some point all three of these guys are going to clash because they're all working different sides in this point. And I do like that aspect. I think that's really interesting that they're doing that. But I still am just not seeing Taylor Kitsch's place in this story yet. I don't know why he his role is specifically yet, other than to be the public investigator who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they're talking about giving him promotion and whatnot for carrying this out. I just don't know if it's going to work. I don't know where they're going with him yet, and I really want to see him get into a deeper, darker place, and I want to see more about his past revealed. I want to know why he's acting the way he is, and I just can't connect with him, nor do I care what's going on with him, honestly, and I really was looking forward to him in the trailers and everything. I can't say that I'm excited when I see Taylor Kitsch on screen and seeing what his character's doing, because of both Colin Farrell and Rachel McAdams, they obviously have the more authority over this case. So what is Taylor Kitsch's place? That's what I'm asking myself, and I don't know. I don't feel he. I want to see him just step up to the plate, really, and I want to see him be as important to this case as the others, and I think he's going to get more involved in next week's episode. It looks like he's going to have a confrontation with some guys over, probably trying to find out information. I don't know. I'm really excited to see where it's going to go. I just want to see him pick up. Next, I'll get into Rachel McAdams, and I'll talk about the Colin Farrell last. Now, Rachel McAdams' last episode, I think, was the episode where they're basically showing us what's going on with her in this series. How she is what do you call it? How she also is very hardened and has had to protect herself, as a kid, keeping that large collection of knives, that that confrontation she had with that guy she slept with in the beginning of the first episode. Her whole, we all know that she didn't have the greatest childhood either. Everything involving her sister and her father, who we're learning more and more in this episode. She was, a part of that religious group that he was with, and she just didn't want anything to do with that, basically. And everybody else in her family went down this bad path, and she at the same time taught herself to defend herself, and paid off her. Now she's a detective. So I don't think, because her purpose in this episode, along with Colin Farrell's, is basically, and this is basically how it was with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson last season, apart from the scenes where, apart from Woody Harrelson's scenes where he was fooling around with Alexandra Daddario or Matthew McConaughey, where we get little tidbits about how his past life was, and with his wife and his daughter, and how he lost them, and how he apart from their dialogue between each other, with Rachel McAdams and Colin Farrell, they're basically just examining this case, just as the two were as Woody Harrelson and McConaughey were last season. And they're not just examining the case, they're full on going around asking people for questions, questioning people, citizens and whatnot, trying to find out information. And that's what they're doing for the majority of the episode. And we do find out from their questioning of people that this Ben Caspere guy had a very bad problem. He saw a therapist, had a very bad problem with young women, always looked to call girls and all and whatnot, had sexual obsessions pretty much. So this could be a possible motive, or it could be tied into whoever ended up murdering him, just, in cold blood. And torturing him, essentially. And obviously they took his money, which Vince Vaughn is after. And so Rachel McAdams in this episode, I don't think she had very many moments either. I think this was Vince Vaughn's episode, and maybe again Colin Farrell's episode, to really shine. Because Rachel McAdams in this episode, other than, there was, I think, two interesting moments. The scene where she's talking with Velcoro, Colin Farrell, in the car, and it's at night, and they're both not learning about each other, but they're both just discussing about things apart from what's going on with this case. And we learn more and more about Colin Farrell, and I still think he's the most developed character on this show right now. He's dealing with dilemmas. He's not looked at as a good man by basically everybody he comes in contact with, and I like where they're going with his character. Rachel McAdams, I think that they set her up very well last episode. And I think they're again dropping us little hints about what her past was like and whatnot. And I think that those two characters are probably the two strongest on the show right now. Vince Vaughn is nearly edging her out almost, and I really want to see where they're going to go with him. But anyway, so yeah, we learned that she, has an obsession with knives and looked to protecting herself at a very young age. And the other interesting scene, I think, which was probably her most intriguing scene of all, was the scene where it's towards the end of the episode. She's on her computer late night, she's having a drink, and she's looking at porn. And at first I'm like, she's looking at porn on the laptop because maybe she's looking for a call girl or something to, see if she had any connection with Ben Caspere. That's what I first thought when she was on the site. I'm like, why is she looking at porn? And then she starts watching it, and I'm like, alright. And then I thought maybe her sister was in one of the videos or something, or was one of those chat performances. That's why she was looking at the site. But at the site itself and looking at all the girls, the live cam girls and everything. But then I was like, no, it feels something, because we have an extreme close-up shot on her eyes, and it looks like what she's watching is affecting her in some way. Maybe she has some sort of connection with these girls other than her sister, because we all know her sister was the live cam girl. So I don't know really where they're going with that, but it intrigued me enough to say I want to know what they're doing with her. So it's like they just keep introducing, more and more plot points and backstory and whatnot about these characters, and I really don't know where they're going with it. But that's all we had at Rachel McAdams tonight's episode. And basically, last but not least, I'm going to just get into what happened with Colin Farrell tonight. I think last week he just absolutely shined and blew me away with just what a hardcore, just, what's the word? Horrific person he is. Because he kicked the crap out of that guy, even though he felt that he was doing justice. He kicked the crap out of that father right in front of the kid. That's messed up. Okay, it is. And I like where they're going with this character. I really do. And I further like more and more hints that they're dropping about him that they did in tonight's episode. Because we do learn, and he blatantly admits it to Rachel McAdams at one point in the episode, and even I think, does he say it again to Vince Vaughn, or Vince Vaughn says it to him in the last scene in the bar? But Colin Farrell did murder the guy who raped his wife, or sexually assaulted his wife. And I think a lot of people inferred this last week from the first shot we see of Colin Farrell with his son in the car. We're like, that kid does not look like Colin Farrell's kid. And I think our suspicions about that were reaffirmed tonight, because he has a meeting with his wife, his ex-wife, at some point, and if we find out that not only is the ex-wife and her new husband trying to get sole custody of their son, but she's very she doesn't want him to have anything to do with her son. She doesn't want him in his life, just by his appearance. Because we saw how Colin Farrell looked in last week's episode. He was clean shaven, had short hair, dressed in the police officer uniform. Now he's a detective. And that's when he met Vince Vaughn. And now obviously his ex-wife, has noticed he has severely let himself go, just looks like crap, and is just acting out. She heard about the whole incident where he beat the shit out of the guy's father, the kid's father, and she's just disgusted with him point blankly. And she brings up a paternity test, and that's the sealing of the coffin. Like that seals the deal that, all of our suspicions that we had about the kid not being his. It's probably not his. It was whoever raped and sexually assaulted her. And he apparently murdered that one person after he met with Vince Vaughn, and Vince Vaughn gave him that information. That's how that relationship started up. So it's sort of like Vince Vaughn is like, dude, you owe me, okay? I've helped you since day one. And then, of course, it's revealed, as he's talking to Rachel McAdams, Colin Farrell may have been involved with the mob at one point as well. As we all know, he's involved with Vince Vaughn presently, but I think she said he was involved with some other mob or something. She gave a name, and I don't remember what it is. But, so this guy's got a lot going on, Colin Farrell's character. With the way his wife's gotten sexually assaulted, that's what started his relationship with Vince Vaughn. Now he's paying for it. Now he's self-destructing. He's acting out. He's definitely just not a what is looked at as a good man. Morally, no, he's not. Even though some of his actions, he feels he's doing them for, I guess the right reasons. And again, I'm still intrigued into that character, and I buy into it for the majority. But that scene between him and his wife, whoever wrote those lines, he says over and over again, please don't do this to me, I beg you. He said that way too much just to throw in nitpicks. I know it seems like I'm really ranking on this episode. I liked it a lot more than I think I liked last week's episode. Yeah, that's, basically everything that happened with Colin Farrell's character. But I got a couple other things. One big thing that happens to him at the end of the episode. Again, he's just, they're going around trying to find out information, question people, him and Rachel McAdams, and then they're reporting back to Taylor Kitsch, and they're debriefing, and they're sharing the information that they're finding, blah, blah, blah. And at some point towards the end of the episode, Colin Farrell goes back to the bar, and Vince Vaughn gives him the information about Ben Caspere's extra house, and is getting desperate. And here, you can tell that he's got anxiety in his voice, Vince Vaughn, and he's just like, you got to work your ass off on this case. I need this person found, okay? I'm starting to do your work for you, basically. And Colin Farrell at some point brings up, maybe, we should just, sort of forget about the past and sort of just move on from this little relationship that we got going on. And Vince Vaughn's like, don't you ever bring that up again, and then he leaves. And I'm like, I can't wait to see where this is going to go. Because honestly, you can look at the show from this point. You didn't even need the Taylor Kitsch or the Rachel McAdams. You could have just had the relationship of Vince Vaughn and Colin Farrell. And you could have cast anyone else as Detective Bezziredes' character, Rachel McAdams. Could have cast anyone. Same thing for Taylor Kitsch. Could have had them as just very, very minute side characters that aren't even of importance. But because they're all billed as, we have actors, well-known actors playing these roles. Obviously, they're important to this show. But I just love that whole moment in the bar. I think it was the stakes were a lot higher. And it shows that Vince Vaughn may have this certain hold over Colin Farrell because of, what's gone on in the past. And I really like where they're going with that. And then finally, the last scene. I still don't know what the hell to make of this scene. But Colin Farrell goes into this house. I'm not sure if it's his. I want to say there's a 50% chance it was, and there's a 50% chance it wasn't. It didn't look like his because he goes in. He's investigating. He pulls out his gun. He goes into this bathroom, and there's a video camera set up. And he's like, what the hell's going on here? Someone's recording him. He goes out the bathroom door, and some guy comes out of the shadows dressed in this, bull horse uniform. I can't remember what it is. He's got a, 12-gauge shotgun and just puts one right into Colin Farrell's stomach. And I was like, what? And then he walks over to him, aims the gun at his other chest area, stomach area, fires another shot, and then it cuts to a shot that's pushing out, and we cut to black. And I was like, alright, what the hell's going on? And the coming attraction for next week's episode, we do not get one scene of Colin Farrell. So that's not good at all, obviously. So I'm really interested to see what the hell happened to him. Is he dead? I don't think he's dead because we have seen other shots of him in the trailer that have not yet been shown in the series, so he's probably just going to get severely injured. But those two shots, man, they're brutal. So very interesting, intriguing ending to the episode. I still overall feel that way too much is going on. I feel the episode wasn't as convoluted as last week's episode in terms of plot, because last week they just threw all these different stories at us, and I was a little upset that. This week, I think the plot's a lot more condensed. We're following Vince Vaughn in his mission, and basically the McAdams and Colin Farrell who are investigating and questioning people, and that's fine. That's basically all we got to worry about. But I think it's the characters and scenes of them that I honestly don't even know if they need to be there. If we even need characters like Taylor Kitsch, like unless and I want to see them step up, and that's all I'm really waiting for. I'm waiting for Taylor Kitsch's character to have more of an importance, and I want them to just reveal what is so important about his past life and everything. And I really want to see where they're going to go with it. I just feel that there's not a need for him, and I just feel they're still juggling way too many characters at this point, and it's very hard to latch on to these certain characters or care for them. There were also a few poorly handled moments, namely the scene between Colin Farrell and his wife, where he's begging her. I didn't buy into. I did not like the just the dialogue in general. And I feel that we're getting repetitive beats with them meeting at the bar. They got to pick another meeting spot. Other than that, I enjoyed the episode. I think it's a bit of an improvement over last week, so I'm going to go like a point higher with my grade. I'm going to give this an 8.75 out of 10 or a B+. This episode definitely has got my interest. I want to see what's going on with this story. I obviously want to see who killed this guy, but I want to get more into the characters, and I'm really hoping episode 3 and 4 is what's going to do that, because I know the action, everything is going to pick up later on, and the tension is all going to build. I just really want to see everything, just come into place with everything. And with that said, I'm looking forward to the next few episodes. So guys, what did you think of tonight's episode of True Detective? Night Finds You. Let me know what you thought of it down below, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.